Hi there, everybody. The Open Championship is around the corner. It's at Royal St George's, and I thought, who can I speak to that knows that place pretty well? So introducing Greg Norman. How are you, Greg?
I'm very well, thank you, Sophie. And yourself? How's everything in the UK?
It's okay. We're pretty excited actually to get the Open on, and we've got fans, which is going to be amazing. I mean, unlike me, I'm sure you're quite used to playing in front of spectators, but that's going to be massive to get back the fans, isn't it, on the golf course over in the UK?
Oh, for sure. I mean, everybody's really been waiting for this moment for a breakout around the world. I don't care what sport it is. And it's just a testament to the excitement of everybody wanting to get back to normalcy in life. And I think the Open Championship and opening it up to spectators was a wonderful move. I don't think you can keep the lid on humanity for very long without people starting to suffer. And if people suffer, the sport suffers. And if the sport suffers, it gets hard financially and economically to recover. So very positive move on the part of the RNA.
Yeah, I know we're all very excited over in the UK. I'll be going, so I'll be very giddy watching all the players. But let's go back to 1993, your second Open Championship at Royal St George's. What was your form like coming into that week? How were you feeling? Were you feeling positive?
Yeah, my form was good, actually. Driving up to Royal St George's, I knew it wasn't one of my favorite layouts. It's a quirky layout. You really got to understand it. You've got to take advantage of certain holes, the dog legs, it can be pretty severe. So I started the week off in good form. I wouldn't say 100% form, but in good form. You work your way in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, feeling the golf course, understanding that the ball turf, it's a totally different sound off a links golf course, how the ball spins, the ball flight, the heaviness of the air coming out of the southwest. You've got to calculate all those little different factors into the week. And as my week went by, I really solidified. I think it was Wednesday when I was on the driving range with Butch Harmon and my coach and my caddy Tony Navarro. And I said to Butch, let's go find somewhere quiet to practice. And on the range at Royal St George's in '93, it was a really hard 10 o'clock wind. And a right-hander hates, or I personally do not like practicing in a hard 10 o'clock wind. And so we moved over behind some of the OEM vans to the right of the driving range. So we found this spot that almost went directly back into the wind. And we spent 45 minutes in solitude, no white noise, with other people walking around, with spectators, all this stuff in the bleachers. And that 45 minutes we spent before an RNA official rightfully came up to us and said, hey, guys, please go back there and practice where you're supposed to practice so everybody can see. People go to the range to watch us practice. So he was right in doing it. So, that 45 seconds was so paramount to me to honing the final touches that I needed to do getting ready for the week. And, I walked away from that range. I didn't hit another ball that day. And then I said to Butch and Tony, I said, I feel really good now. And that's the feeling I took for the next 4 days.
So come on, Greg, you've got to tell everybody what's that secret? People say you can't find it at a tournament, and you and Butch did. Like, I was listening to some commentary and they were talking about you had a new swing. Now, it looked like you swung it a bit shorter in '93. I didn't know if that was because of the wind, but what was that thing? What was the thing that you and Butch spoke about?
Well, we worked on that weeks before going to the Open. We knew that we had to shorten my swing. My arm swing was just getting a little bit too long. It's okay with Parks golf, not links golf, where you can flight the ball extremely high. But Butch thought that if I shortened my arm swing, not my turn was still full, but I kept my arm swing just a little bit shorter. He thought that I'd be able to keep the club out in front of me just that nanosecond longer. And we all know if you keep that club out in front of you, then you're going to be hitting more down your line on every particular shot. So we had been working on that before we even hit the soils of the UK and Royal St George's. We went to the range just to refine it. So what we were refining on the range was the ball flight, just making sure I would control my ball flight. And you control your ball flight through spin. And the harder you put more spin on it, the more it wants to shoot up into the wind. So we were controlling that with the shortness of my swing and keeping the club out in front of me. And quite honestly, when the we had been, like I said, working on it for weeks in advance, and it didn't take much. It only takes 5 shots or 5 swings to get it right, then it clicks, and then once it clicks, you just refine it, just hit a few more, make sure you go through the entire bag from driver all the way down to even chipping to make sure that club stays out in front of you even with chipping. And once you go through the bag feeling good with 5 shots or 6 shots or 10 shots, then you pack it up and go home.
So also you said about how you didn't feel that St. George's, well, maybe wasn't your favorite. You said about being quirky. Can you explain to people about playing St. George's and what you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot of interesting dog legs there. Look, just take, let's just take, I'm going to think about the holes now. 1, 2, 3, par 3, 4, 5, for example. Mm-hmm. So you're hitting back towards the water. It's a sharp dog leg to the left. You can lay up and not carry the sand dunes on the left, or you can try and drive it over the left-hand sand dunes. It's a big drive. It's a risky drive because out of bounds is on the right. And if you pull it left into the sand dunes, you got a really tough shot. But if you get it right, you're hitting to the widest part of the fairway. And I mean the widest part of the fairway. And you can almost drive the green because it plays a little bit downwind. And in the practice rounds, I decided, the layup shot, the second shot after laying it up, was very, very difficult. You're talking about 180, 200 yard shot, something like that. And with the hard wind coming on you, it was tough to get the ball close to the hole. So to me, as well as I was driving the golf ball, just that one hole was an example. Then you go 2 holes ahead. You get to, I think, the par 5 7th hole. Another example where I can take it on the corner of the inside of the dog leg, on the slight dog leg to the left, and I would pick up 30, 40 yards on the field. So that was my strategy, and I was reaching that hole no problem in 2 all the time. And then you go forward to holes like 12 is the same thing. Most of the time I laid it up there. Then 13, I did it on 13 all day long, every tournament, every round. Cut the corner, I had a great line, and I was having like 100-yard shots into that hole, and other people were going in there with 8 and 7 irons. So I had a distinct advantage.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you crushed it back then. How far were you hitting it back then, Greg? Because you had the metal driver in the bag, didn't you? Whereas the likes of Langer had the persimmon. So you was an early shifter to the metal wood. So why was that? And how far were you hitting it back then?
If my memory is right, I remember hitting one drive about 228, 328, something like that. So it was getting out there. And the metal driver I liked because the ball flight, it's obviously new technology. It wasn't like I put the brand new driver in my bag the week before. I'd been working for months with that driver, with the R&D department and everybody, just to get the balance just perfect. So, to me, it's all about the feel, how that ball compresses on the club face, and again, your flight. Your flight trajectory is really, really important to me. And the ball felt good. It wasn't coming off with a high spin, and we didn't have TrackMan in those days and stuff like that. You just knew by the trajectory of the ball that you had great penetration in the wind, and probably more so the vertical spin of the golf ball. When you make impact, if that golf ball remains vertical in its spin ratio, you're actually going to hit the ball straighter in a crosswind, and I was doing that really well.
Just quickly going sidestepping about the technology, what do you think about rolling the ball back? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it hasn't changed since 1997. It should have been done in 1997. I think it's just look, when you look at the OEMs today with the overhead drivers and the different shafts and the different materials, and even the design of the iron heads, is that really the significant factor in why there's extra length with the players? No, it's part of it. It's a small part of it. But the biggest significant factor is the golf ball. There's no question about it. If they rolled the golf ball back to the pre-1996 specification, you'd see a dramatic difference. Now, OEMs are going to go, well, this is our job. You're going to ruin our margins. You're going to do this and that. Wrong. Those OEMs will still be producing the best golf ball. The best players will still be using those best golf balls, and their sales will not diminish one bit, just because the specification of the golf ball rolls back. Now, for the integrity of the game of golf, from memberships to even the major championships, you wouldn't have had to do what you've done to all these great golf courses around the world to spend millions and millions of dollars on it, for the members to have to put up with it the rest of the year outside of one championship. Just the added on cost that they have to burden every year is just ridiculous. And when you sit back, I'm a staunch proponent on this. If they had rolled the ball back or kept that specifications of pre-1996, we would not be in the position we are today. Technology with hard goods is no different than technology with clothing, right? It gets a little bit better, gets a little bit better and better and better. There's no question. But the ball was a dramatic quantum.
Well, I'm glad you chose to sit on the fence there, Greg. Great answer. Great answer. And I suppose, like for somebody like you that was, one of the best strikers of the ball, you're always still going to be the best. The best.
Sophie, look,
an advantage to you guys as well.
If you gave the best players in the world of any year, pick whatever, every year, if you gave them a gutter perch golf ball and a hickory shafted golf clubs, and you put them off at 5,800 yards at the Masters, Augusta National, the best players would still win. It's the crazy thing about it. It's the best are going to figure out how to do it. So if you give us a specification golf ball that doesn't go another 30 yards, we'll figure out what to do. We're the best in the world, right? We do that. Just look what's happened with players, with Bryson DeChambeau, the change in the last 15 years with the players and their strength and their flexibility. These guys have taken science to another level. So there is always going to be the attitude of the best players in the world are always going to elevate themselves to be that position about wanting to be the best. So, I'm a staunch proponent. I've been there. I've done it. I was #1 player in the world. I've been asked by the USGA to test golf clubs for them, to test square grooves. I've been the robot for them. I've been in the R&D department where I finance things in Cobra to see club development. I've been there for 40 plus years. I've seen the change, and some of the garbage I read coming out about, it takes years and years to decide on what to do. The truth is, if you've been around the industry long enough, even Nicholas has said the same thing. Raymond Floyd said the same thing. I mean, these guys have been around 50, 60 years, and they still see it. So we can't be wacko. It's not like we are wrong. It's just that how about listening to us and just taking the advice of the players who have been at the top of the game and experience the changes through what they really are. And it's a golf ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that opinion. I'm going to take us back, so I sidetracked us a little bit. So back to St. George's. You're a really good links golfer, and you were one of the best players in the world back then, as talking about being a stacked leaderboard. You didn't get off to the greatest start. So when that happens, how do you reset and go, hang on a minute, this is okay?
Well, it's golf, right? I mean, the first hole, I hit a beautiful drive down the left side of the fairway. The wind was hard right to left. I landed in the left third of the fairway, maybe the left 3/4 of the fairway, and there's a ridge around the 250, 260, 270 mark. And my ball kicked straight left into the deep rough. I took a double bogey. And going to the second tee, I walked over there and I said, Greg, you hit a good drive there. You got 71 holes to go. Don't worry about it. Just put this behind you. And then I went off and made a bunch of birdies. So it's just one of those quirkinesses about those nuances about that quirky golf course, right? That you can hit a good drive and you can get penalized for it. So you just got to understand that, take it on the chin, and realize that there's 72 holes to go, not just one.
Well, yeah, you got over it pretty well. Started with a 66, got into position on Friday. Moving into the weekend, you're still very much at the top. But there is one man in front of you, which is your greatest rival, Nick Faldo. So entering Sunday, that leaderboard was incredible with Langer, you, Faldo, even the young Paul Lawrie was up there, Corey Pavin, just a really great leaderboard. Did you realise it was Nick Faldo's birthday on that Sunday?
I didn't really care. I wasn't paying any attention, to be honest with you. Look, when when you get into that mindset, you're really just so focused, your narrow vision, you're getting rid of all the white noise that's possibly out there. You don't even, you know the names are up there, of course, but you know your name is up there as well too. And they're probably saying, well, there's Norman there. Jesus, we got to watch out. He's been shooting lights out over the last 3-4 days. What are we going to do to beat him? You got to think like that to yourself, that you can't be thinking about them. They're probably thinking more about you. And that's why it is. And I was aware that Faldo's birthday was always around the Open Championship because of the past. And but I've never been one to play, Sophie, and think about one particular player in the field. I mean, I don't get into that kind of stupid minutia of stuff. That's more white noise. That's more media chat. I mean, yes, we're competitors. I had a lot of great competitors in the day. Some you remain friends with, some you didn't remain friends with because we were competitors to the nth degree. So, I just focused on what I wanted to execute and how I wanted to execute, and just one shot at a time.
Well, you started off really well. You went birdie, par, birdie. What was the mentality for that day? The greens looked pretty soft out there. Was it one of those Open Championships that you thought, I need to go low? Did you have a number in mind?
No, you never go in with numbers. There's a saying I always say, if I'm walking up a golf course and I'm feeling really good about my game, I say to my caddy, blue skies and 65. Just something like that to put it in my head. It's not like, okay, my target is 65. It's just a saying I used to say. But on that particular Sunday, obviously you knew the creme de la creme at the top of that leaderboard. Obviously you knew that if you made 2 pars in sequence, somebody's going to make either 2 birdies or a birdie, and somebody's going to come after you. You knew you had to put the pedal to the metal and suck up the go-go juice from day one, from the very first tee shot, because there was such a plethora of great players who are capable of shooting 66 or 65, 67 behind you to keep the pressure on you. Not just one player, probably 2 or 3 players of that group. So you knew you couldn't back off. You knew you had to just run through that finishing line as hard and as fast as you can. And as the front 9 was playing out, you could see it. We were all making a bunch of birdies, every single one of us. What
was the best shot you hit on that Sunday?
Probably my tee shot on 14.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Langer's on the tee, he goes first, and you can say the rest, Greg.
Well, I didn't even know he hit it out of bounds because I don't watch a player's shot. I just knew he hit it out of bounds because he asked his caddy for another golf ball. I was so focused on where I wanted to hit, I didn't want to see somebody else's either good shot or bad shot. I was just never that type of player. I'd always just look at the player's golf ball and just see it hit, hear the sound, and then I wouldn't even look up. I'd go get ready to tee up my golf ball. And I was so focused on where I was going to hit it. There was a tower way off in the distance, maybe a couple of miles. And I focused on the very top of that tower. That's where I wanted my ball to go. I didn't know about the out of bounds. I didn't know about the heavy rough on the left. All I wanted to do was hit my ball down that line to the top of that tower. And that's how I stayed focused, and that's what I did.
Would you say that's the toughest shot a player's going to face this year at the Open, that 14 out of bounds, right? Or is there some more out there?
Look, there's a lot of shots out there that they're going to be challenging, but it just depends on the weather conditions, right? I've heard the springs there has been very wet and cool, and all of a sudden it's starting to get warmer. So the grass, hopefully the outer rough is going to be thick and gnarly, which it should be. So if that's a situation, and the wind is the prevailing wind out of the southeast with 10 o'clock on that tee shot, yeah, that's going to be a daunting tee shot. There's no question about it. And the players are hitting it long enough nowadays where that burn will come into play. And maybe they have to hit long irons off there, which complicates the issues. And now they're going to be further back for their second shots, and they're still out of bounds on the right. There's still trouble even on your layup area if you're going. And if you're going for the green in 2, it's not the easiest shot either.
No, absolutely not. I think there's quite a lot of blind shots as well at St. George's and crosswinds, and that's something which most of us players, we're not big fans of. Like downwind and into wind is a lot easier, isn't it, than playing crosswinds? What's your tip for playing in those crosswinds, Greg?
It's all about ball flight and spin. I mean, and obviously hitting the ball solid. You got to make solid contact. You don't have to make hard contact. You just have to make solid contact, keeping that club face on the back of the ball square for as long as you possibly can keep it, and hit it down your line. Don't fight the wind. Play with the wind. That's a very heavy wind there. It can either come out of the east to the northeast, out of the North Sea, or out of the southeast off the English Channel. If it comes out of the west, I believe, and the northwest and stuff like that, it becomes drier, and the golf course becomes a lot faster because now it's warm air because it's coming off the land. So now if the wind shifts, then the player has to make that adjustment with his golf game midstream, because there will be a difference between hitting in heavy air and hitting in warm, hot air.
Yes, absolutely. Controlling the ball flight, which, looking at it, that is exactly what you did. Like that tee shot into 16, the par 3, was incredible. It just seemed like every time Langer hit one in close, it was almost like a marker for you on the par 3 as you just shoved it in there a little bit closer. Your iron play that week, I mean, it's obviously, it's always been good, but you must have been really happy with the iron play that week.
Oh yeah, I think every aspect of my game was pretty solid except the short putt on 17. You have to be in full cry to give yourself a chance to win one of these claret jugs, or any golf tournament for that matter, not just a major, any golf tournament. You just can't get away with average golf anytime to beat these best players in the world. So you really have to know your golf game, understand your golf game, have 15 clubs working. That 15th club is your mind. Making sure it's equal to all the other 14 clubs in your bag. And you just can't rely on one thing. You have to rely on everything.
What was the point where you thought, I think I've won this? Or are you not that type of player? No, not at all?
No, look, the only time I felt, the tee shot on 18 was a tough tee shot. I mean, I know I only had a 2-shot lead at the time. Faldo was behind me. You didn't know what was going to happen. I could have easily taken a bogey there, and Faldo birdied the 18th in a heartbeat. When I hit that really, really good tee shot on 18, again in a hard left-right wind, I hit it just solid down my line. I even remember aiming at the left edge of the bleacher. I can even tell you the flag I was aiming at. So, it was just one of those things where the ball just fell back. My caddy went, and so he knew I hit it perfect. And then you still got a 4-iron into the green. It's not like chump change, right? It's not like you got a wedge in your hand like some of these shots these guys hitting nowadays. But we had a 4-iron, and again, a bogey staring at you if you didn't hit that putting surface. So, I executed, and once I put it about 18 feet from underneath the hole, I knew I could have a comfortable walk up.
Where would you rank that round of golf in your best rounds?
I don't know. I'd probably put it in my top 5, top 7, something like that.
What's your best round? What's the best round you've ever played?
I think I 62 around Glen Abbey at the Canadian Open one time. Tough golf course, long golf course, very narrow golf course. A couple of times I thought about I could shoot 59 during rounds of golf. That was one of them. I thought, when I look back at the second round at Turnberry in '86, when I shot 63 under those conditions and I finished 3-putt, I'm thinking to myself, somebody reminded me, I think it was a reporter said to me in the interview room, said, do you realize if you finished one putt, you would have shot 59? And you go, oh yeah, okay, I didn't even think about that. And because 3-putt at 17 for par and 18 for bogey. So that round was extremely solid right up to that point.
Well, I think 7 birdies, 1 bogey is not a bad way to win an Open Championship. Like we said before, leaderboard was really impressive. What do you think? Do you think St. George's is going to bring out the best players in the world again, like we saw at the last major? What type of player do you think is going to do well around there?
Not a one-dimensional player, I can tell you that. I mean that off the tees. I mean, you've got to really be able to work your golf ball off the tee. The one-dimensional player is not going to fly there. You have to have complete control of your ball flight. So obviously I think more along the lines of the Morikawas of the world. Xander, yes, thank you very much. Xander, guys like that, I really, really do think are going to have a good chance there.
What about Bryson? You think Bryson can just hit driver and rip it to pieces?
Well, he may not even have to hit a driver, right? He hits his 4-iron 280, 290. So, I mean, there's some of the carries over the dog leg. So, he may not even have to carry a driver in his bag.
What do you think about all this Brooks and Bryson stuff? I mean, we spoke a little bit about you and Faldo, but obviously you guys backed it up very well. They're trying to back it up, aren't they? But what's your thoughts on a bit of healthy rivalry between those two guys?
There's nothing wrong with it, as long as it doesn't get personal. And I think there's a lot of players out there who are very good on social media or don't even get the attention because they're not a name player. So I think this whole thing with the PGA Tour is not good because it sends a bad message. And back to the Bryson Brooks deal, look, it's social media, right? A lot of this has been stirred up by social media, by even the internet, stirred it up a little bit. Is there a rivalry there? Absolutely, there's a rivalry there. Is that healthy for the game? Absolutely, that's healthy for the game. But like I said, as long as it doesn't get personal, right, where they start slinging stuff at each other, I don't think they will. I think they're two very smart guys. I like them both. They're two totally different personalities. Brooks, he lets his clubs do the talking and goes from there. And Bryson, he's a game changer.
Greg, you have been most fortunate to win the Open Championship. Tell everybody what it's like to be the champion golfer of the year.
What's it like to be the champion golfer? I think the coolest part about it is you get to take the sexiest trophy in sport with you around the world. And you get people like other trophies, the PGA, you do it, the US Open, you do it, the Masters, you take your green jacket. But there's something about the claret jug, the age of it, the history of it. There's something about the Open Championship, which is the true Open Championship of the world because of the qualifying criteria. So it's for people to get a chance to hold that claret jug and look at it, feel it, know the history. To me, the Open's like the true global Open, if you know what I mean. So people can relate to that claret jug more than anything else. So when I see the people have a lot of happiness on their face when they look at it and go, oh my gosh, I'm actually holding this trophy, to me was one of the greatest rewards out of the whole thing.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much for you reminiscing about Royal St. George's. Really appreciate that, Greg.
You're welcome.